here's all the benefits to privatizing, or the problems if we don't. Number one, as I stated earlier, no guaranteed land to meet consumer demands. Buyers will have no way to secure a steady supply of a uniform good, and suppliers won't have a steady income. Number two, others that may not value the land or know what to do with it will get it for free and take a seasoned professional off of it to produce something that may be unwanted, inferior, or messed up. Crops or the land, uh, they may produce something that's unwanted, inferior, or mess up crops or the land completely. Whereas someone willing to pay for it may value it more. Also, if land is repeatedly used by one, they will take interest and care for the land more if they will take interest and care for the land more than if they'll be bounced around. Number three, money acts as votes in a democracy, and the consumers should determine what they want because that is the point of why we work in the first place. This is also a bread product, so someone some of the same things may be a little better than others. Four, like residential, commercial, and industrial lands, you build something on it. Although temporary, you may want to build on it again. Number five, it may enable leeches who may have the capacity to produce on the land, but whose only intention is to sell or basically sign up to get money from other people who's already there without working. Six, big companies could pay people to claim land for them to hamper competitors and to hog up all the land. With all the underhanded things that people may try to do to get money, or all the things that could go wrong with underqualified people's earnest attempts, it's no wonder we have so many laws and requirements in industries. But maybe we're just too cynical. As stated prior, we we want to put principle before the perceived production of an outcome. But the only real difference to privatizing is you block out the smaller competitors that can afford the land and hinder a new breed of produce which may be better to market by the price of the privatized land. Big companies can produce unwanted and inferior crops as well, even more so than some small farms. Plus, destroy the land they use as well. Since we are to put principle first, because we are civilized people, we must keep people's rights intact. Privatization of agricultural land is so overwhelmingly beneficial to the consumer, it must be done. Public agricultural land is so beneficial to some workers and producers, and it's a right, it must be done. So the conclusion is we have public lands available per region as well as private agricultural zones. This way everyone is pleased, and who said you can't please everyone, right? Now, private farming land should be distributed in the same way, fully and freely. Whether it be first come, lottery, or the public votes on who's best fit to work the lands, it would be up to the municipality. Um, obviously, you obviously you would obtain a deed for the land so you could sell it, as opposed to public land, where it goes back to the public to use if necessary. So when all the public land is in use and others come mid-season to partake in the growing experience, the first to harvest would give up their plot to the next in line, and get back on the list to obtain this free resource and so on. This would be the avenue for entrepreneurs who wanted to satisfy the demand of a small market or introduce what could be a better product to the world without depending on others to approve their venture. The public could claim private farms to be public farms if deemed necessary, sort of like eminent domain, but should be rare if at all and only to preserve people's rights to farm in a timely manner if the whole public system becomes backed up. So, but realize that if few or nobody else um, applies for public land, then one would be free to use it as much as they needed, which would put them in a better competitive position with the other privatized farms. At first glance of the system, most would assume that a socialist would probably benefit from the public lands more. But because the socialist camp, town, or what have you knows it has a set market of mouths to feed, it would need to ensure ownership even more so than a company selling to a business. But even more than that, one farming to feed themselves, their family, pets, or livestock would have number one priority. But public gardens, residential lots, maybe light industrial lots, would fill most of that void for that demand. So comes the question of who's the boss? Is it the consumer or is it the worker? If one works for themselves, they are the consumer and the worker. So there's no debate there. But if the consumer asks people to make a certain good for us, um, as the whole point of them working is to sell, can a worker boss up and deny us? Sure, they can. A man is his own boss ultimately, and although it may be advantageous for a person to adhere to public demands, they may not because they don't have the means. They may feel it's immoral or any other or no reason. But should it be that way? Meaning, if you can't or don't want to please the public, your private land should be enough to meet your private needs. The rest of the land should go to the public since that's who receives what is being made on it. Because the economy depends on trade, we expect others to fulfill our demands or be rejected. But it's not that easy to reject food because it's a basic necessity. People want low cost of food, but not GMO products, but could be forced to buy expensive GMO products if that's all that's in their market, or being produced. We see this true when municipalities create laws to ban products from hitting the store shelves if it doesn't meet their guidelines, knowing that if it does hit the shelf, it's pretty much a wrap. Realize that one who works according to a free market capitalist model is not necessarily working to please the public, but to please themselves, which they should be entitled to. But they may offer a subpar, undesired product to people who, in acquiescence, buy from them, and that produces more profit than a product people want, but won't produce as much profit for the farm. While a socialist model may aim to provide for its people, constraints may make them produce something otherwise that people really don't really want. But if it's more a command economy, it may be arduous to make a change in that type of situation as well. So, but they'll continue that behavior because the market signals a green light. I mixed that up. So people would buy from the private producer, and they'll continue to buy because I mean, they'll continue to produce a product that people don't really want as long as they keep buying it. So that would be their green light in the market. Then again, some people's priorities may be price or quantity over quality, but to each his own. If we let the public directly dictate who gets to work and how much, then we are essentially their boss. There may be a case where someone on private land may produce something unwanted but still sell enough to maintain the property. The market responded, but now the producer has to innovate or sell off some of the land, or maybe not. Because the truth is, as long as he's in the black, he can't continue. The only true way to ensure what people want they get enough of is a system like, let's say, if the government controls all sales to the market and distributes land appropriately. So if an industrial or commercial sector demands more of something, the government will distribute extra land to that producer, or vice versa. Ultimately, the workers are free to produce whatever as they try to please the public. The disconnect with our source of food through middlemen, etc., muffles our critique to farmers. Plus, food takes a long time to grow, and our needs are fickle, so pickiness should be lessened. So, as long as there's food available, it's not really a problem. It's a non-issue. Um, Land for domesticated animals would be mostly public grazing lands, some small private ranches. If necessary, pens would be built around the grazing lands. A new idea would be a government ranch to retain domesticated animals for sale and also generate income. Fishing and hunting would work as it does now, except no upfront cost for a permit. A bill and a gathering quota would be proper to pay for conservation and other services. Just to note, these industries have other detailed operations, but I'm just going to breeze over them and speak on the economic side. Economics doesn't have to involve money all the time. If the government has an operation in an industry where they sell a product, people could pay fines in that product, plus extra for the government selling it if need be. The forestry industry could require you to plant trees before you cut them, as I believe is always required now. Allotting a quota to each person may slow down big equipment from its full potential. So a time-shared operation with a space for heavy equipment and a space for personal equipment would be fair if participation is low or if we felt first come first serve is sufficient. The timeshare rule will apply to the mining industry. One spot for heavy and one spot for hand equipment. People would sign up to work shifts in turn at the physical mining office. There could be hotels, tool shops, storage warehouses, and wholesalers would be a few of the commercial businesses around that area. Government should play a major role in mining, especially tunnel mines, as they need special care and infrastructure. A stone quarry is a little different. Um, we couldn't do a timeshare or a size quota for impracticality reasons and time constraints. Some may produce in time, or some may not produce in time and leave an uncleared area that may hinder others from their rightful spot. Um, but if people with small tools wanted to embark in this type of work, I'm sure an adequate spot could be designated for them. But I believe government should bear the brunt of this stone gathering work, or a private contractor, or whoever.